Yeah.
odd because, and just a quick
Hold on,
note.
hold on. Mike, just for the, I just started the recording of this. So
Okay.
do me a favor and start that sentence over so that I can trim it right here.
All right, here we go. Yeah. I was just, because we were talking about virtual reality videos, possibly at weddings in a few years. It's so funny thinking about after having shot these FaceTime sessions,
Yeah.
because you think of your value as a photographer and whether technology will like take over our industry one day, like automated photography. But I don't think that's a fear, especially after having done these FaceTime sessions, because
Interesting.
all we're doing basically is like essentially someone could set up their own phone and take this, the same photos, but it's different from that because they're allowed to be themselves and have a
Interesting.
conversation with me while I click away, and then a professional photographer putting the edit together. That's an experience that you can't just get by taking selfies or trying to do it yourself.
Even
um,
as a photographer, hiring another photographer is valuable because I can do the editing. I can't, but you're
yeah,
so, it's like, how the sausage is made too well. So
right.
that's a really interesting thought. I'm gonna write this down, Mike. If you're interested, I would love to pick your brain and have you do like a guest blog post on the Photo Club blog about like
Oh,
your
sure.
experience with the FaceTime story or the FaceTime
Yeah,
shooting, and maybe even just specifically like that concept. We'll expand it out to like what that means and what that means as for the value of a photographer going forward. Because
yeah,
since we've opened Pandora's box on FaceTime sessions, does that mean that's a thing now?
yeah.
I assume not, but it might be.
I'm stopping them. I think Monday is my last one, and
Okay.
so it was a fun project, but I definitely want to think about that. Like, what if even for a small, even like a couple $100 or something, you could add on to your wedding package if you don't want to travel to Northern Michigan for your engagement session
Hmm.
to do a FaceTime session or something like that, and really
That's
it's just be
interesting.
a half-hour meeting to get to know your clients, and you're snapping photos away. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Just thought.
fascinating. Do we know who originated the FaceTime sessions?
No, I saw Abby Moore doing it, and she had a couple other people that she had seen doing it that she kind
Yeah.
of. I messaged
I
Abby
saw
though, like she was
I
super
saw
like,
one.
you should do it.
Yeah, I saw one early on. I'm like, looks like film or something, and I was like, "Whoa, this is a thing!" And they were talking about it like they didn't hear about it somewhere else. But some
Sure.
people are just kind of blowhards and try to talk about everything like they invented photography as a concept.
Yeah. I know everyone's like, what a cool idea, Mike, and I'm like, I didn't come up with it.
Yeah, or just own it and be like, "Yeah, I made this." They're called Mike Murphy the Fourth Sessions.
Yep.
Everybody has to call them that legally.
Heck yeah.
All right. So we might still have some people jump in. We'll see. But either way, we always start by kind of going around the circle, introducing ourselves to the community first and foremost, because especially now, community is super wicked important, and so I want you guys to get a sense of like actually knowing each other. So I'll start with me because I'm up top. For me, Michael Kent. I do this thing. I founder of Photo Club, and my wife and I run Allen Kent Photography in Traverse City, Northern Michigan, and we do weddings, portraits, and then obviously like photo education and stuff like that. Melinda doesn't know she's right here, but why don't you go next?
Hi.
Hi.
There's weird noise in the background. It's just my Instant
It's
Pot.
okay.
I'm
That makes
Melinda.
sense for you.
I have been doing photography for fun probably since I was a kid. I've been getting back into it more, but I cook for a living, not currently because everything's closed.
Right. Cool. Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I live in Traverse City, and I do photography. I've been doing it since I was like 11, and I'm 23 now, so for a long time. And I'm in the process of getting my business going. So exciting stuff.
Cool. All right. Below you is Mitchell.
Hey, Mitch.
I'm not a photographer and I don't take any pictures, but I am a preschool teacher and I sell some antiques and stuff. And Mike is one of my buddies, so I'm here to see what he has to say.
Awesome.
I live in Boyne City.
Nice to meet you, Mitch.
And we did a FaceTime session of him and his family today, and it was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm fresh off the FaceTime session where my wife wouldn't let me wear this Lady Gaga hat.
Oh, why not?
That's a crime. It's a crime. Mitch, how did that feel? Is it Mitch? Do you go by Mitch?
Yeah, it's fine. Just don't call me snitch.
Cool.
It was good. I mean, it was interesting because, I've seen some of the other ones that Mike has done. And it's like all photography, I guess, like you have a vision of maybe what the photographer wants. And, our house doesn't really have any, like, I don't know, like cool backgrounds or anything that I thought. So I'm kind of hoping that Mike will just do his magic and, make them something that, we'll definitely want to hang up. And I know that he will. Basically, we wanted to do it because we want to support him, but then also we want to be able to look back at this time and remember these couple of months that we had at home with our daughter. And it's just a fun way to document,
For sure.
growing up. And it's definitely a little bit unusual trying to figure out how to, hold the phone steady and get in the frame and all that. But, Mike kind of just makes some light suggestions, and you kind of get a feeling of what, he wants.
Very cool. And you had shot with Mike before?
Yeah, Mike shot at my daughter's birthday party, and I was in a wedding that Mike shot. And anything else?
At least one wedding, right? Is that it?
And then just, the candid homie shots, with the buddies over the years, when,
Very cool.
Mike was kind of evolving into what he is now. So,
The beast that he is now.
those weren't professional, but Mike was certainly doing what he does, and even in his professional life in those fun.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Mitch. I appreciate that. We don't often have like the guests
Your type around here.
client on here, so that's cool. Hey, Kelly, you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Prouse. I'm from Midland, Michigan. I've been shooting for about 10 years or so, and I do portrait photography, and I dabble in a lot of different things. I do weddings here and there. Basically, I like having a camera in my hand, so just about anything, even nature. So
Very cool. Very cool. All right, so
How is
from
you?
there-
Are you affected by the flooding?
I am about 2 miles away from the flooding,
Wow.
so we were very lucky.
that is very lucky.
Yeah, for sure. I have a
My
friend who's
sister's
a
right
wedding
in
DJ, and he's out of work right now, obviously, and
Mhm.
and they're having a baby during the pandemic, which is going to be its own difficulty, and his house just flooded in Midland.
Oh,
Oh,
Shout out DJ Casey Rush from Rush Entertainment.
that name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really sad.
Yeah.
People lost everything. I mean,
know flood
we
insurance
already
is
lost
difficult.
everything anyways, but
right.
yeah, feel
That's
bad.
insane. Well, let's jump into things. I know Mike has a bit of a I don't want to call it a time crunch, but we're going to try to keep it a little tight today, just to kind of get him back into family mode. And I think it's a good practice in general. I don't think the 2-hour ones are useful for a lot of people.
If you're editing all day, a 2-hour one is cool, but yeah, it's definitely a little intimidating. We're saying, like, I was telling Michael, like, I always choose the how-to videos that are like the shortest because,
Yep.
and stuff like that. So
I like to think of these as like more like a podcast where like I know like some of my favorite podcasters will like put out like 2-hour episodes and be like, I'm sorry this is so long, and I'm like, dude, I just listen to this like in chunks when I'm
yeah,
I don't know, like doing the dishes and then going for a drive. So like I actually love like a 3 or 4 hour podcast, 3 or 4 hour interview with the same person. However, we're not there. I don't necessarily think we want to hang out for 4 hours today.
Yeah.
I don't got that. So I'm going to go back over to speaker view, and I'm going to mute everybody except for Mike and I to allow the software just to kind of grab us as necessary. And there we go. Oh, I already grabbed you, Mike. Cool. How you doing, man?
doing good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
I always like to start just by hearing who you are, what you do. You
Right.
kind of jumped into that a little bit in the. Wait, we did? Yeah, we grabbed you in the introductions.
I don't think I did do one.
Oh, cool. And then I probably skipped you on purpose so that we could do that here. So yeah, just kind of give us the broad interview or the overview of like who you are, what you do, where you're based, kind of like why you got into photography, why you continue to shoot, that kind of stuff for
Sure.
starters.
Yeah, I'm Mike Murphy, based in Charlevoix, and my origins with photography start at Central. Same place I met Michael back in the day. We had photo classes together, and over the years, have just grown from. I just started wedding photography, doing pretty shots, like everyone was doing at that time. And by now, I think I'm around 10 years in. We probably are, Michael. I've really gone toward the candid sort of documentary style photography. It's just how I'm most comfortable. I see myself as kind of an introvert extrovert personality. Like when I'm in social settings, I'm really, comfortable and interact. But that introvert of me really enjoys kind of sitting back and letting moments happen and just being really just looking for those moments and trying to capture them. So I shoot weddings. I do a lot of family portraits in this, especially in the summertime, and some stuff for local businesses, which I'd like to kind of grow that a little bit. But we do a lot of like bartering and stuff for that kind of thing. So
I love that.
yeah, it really works out great. So yeah, and so in Charlevoix, what was this? Maybe I started working from home, of course, and we can jump kind of right into the backup stuff.
Go for it.
So I had my home office before, in our home a couple blocks away from here at the time, and I every time we would leave the house, I had a hard drive system at home, but every time we would leave, I would bring my hard drives with us. Like I would leave it in the car. We went up to the UP for a couple days. I always made sure that I brought one of my hard drives with me in case the house burned down or something like that. And that was
Mike, where did you pick that up? Because that's a very specific. I've heard people with a lot of different types of workflows, but that is a very specific thought process. Where did you pick up this always keeping your work on you kind of mentality?
Well, I guess part of it, we had a pole barn fire at my parents' pole barn, like when I was, I think, in college, and I was up staying with my parents, and I was staying the night at the pole barn actually, and like feeding the wood stove all night, and woke up in the morning to like there was a chimney fire, and it caught the ceiling on fire, and it caught the attic on fire. So I guess I'd had a little bit of experience with fires. Thank God I woke up and stuff easily and quickly. But fun side note, well, fun. I called my parents. They got on their way and called the fire department, and my brother-in-law, and who was a farmer, and their farm's really close. And oh yeah, I said to my mom, I'm like, where are family photos? And she was like, they're on the top. They were on like the third row up, like close to the ceiling. And so that's what I did as this fire was going on, and I was waiting for people to get there. Is I took the ladder over there and I like tossed down our family photo boxes because everything else can be replaced. And I didn't even think about talking about that, but that's so like relevant to what we're talking about today. Wow. So yeah, that's a little bit of a backstory on that. And then I think just the fear of, like, I had friends who had to tell people that they lost their wedding photos, aside from maybe like a couple highlight shots that they'd already sent over. And that's just, we should all have my dad says you should have a healthy fear of things, a healthy respect. His healthy respect is for heights. A little bit of fear of getting in a car accident is good because it makes you drive safe. So if you're a little bit scared of losing people's wedding photos, which you should be, that's what kind of made me go, okay, I need a backup with me and a backup at home in case anything happens, so that,
yeah, for sure.
So that if you lose a drive, and drives can fail themselves, in cars.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So that was kind of my first backup system. Then I got an office above Cheer Republic downtown Charlevoix. And when I did that, it was a very I was like, okay, how am I going to protect my images with two locations, you know, at home and down at the office. And so what I did was basically bring my hard drives home. So that's what I still do to this day. I work off of portable hard drives, and I save my work to my large Drobo that's in my office. That way I have everything current on me, and also backed up at the office. So that's what I did at the time of the fire too. It's funny that Mitchell is tuned in. I didn't know he was going to be tuning in, but he is actually the one who called me at like 6 a.m. on Christmas Eve, 2016, I think it was, and was like, dude, Cherry Republic's on fire, and my office is above Cherry Republic. And I jumped out of bed, I ran to my backpack, and I grabbed my hard drives, and I just breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that I was not going to have to tell anyone that their photos were burning up. You know what I mean?
Wow, that is unreal.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a surreal moment. We lived in Ironton at the time, which is about 5 miles toward East Jordan from Charlevoix. And so we kind of jumped in the car and went into town and like watched. That's what those photos on the stories that we shared are from. Yeah, we watched across the street from that French place, it's called, with the shop owners there, because they were there like making baked goods. And so yeah, it was really wild to see how they deal with fires in a commercial building like that. You know, they break out the windows all above the front of the second floor. So what happened with the fire was, they don't know exactly how it originated, but there was a wooden shed that had all of Cherry Republic's trash and cardboard recycling in it, in this wooden shed with wooden stairs above it that went up to the back of the building. They don't build things like that anymore, because if they catch on fire, it can be pretty devastating. So like now with the new building, it's all metal, you know, back there. So somehow a fire started in there, lit the stairs, and then all the gas lines were right there. And so it caught the gas lines on fire, and that basically heated up the back of the building so bad that the attic then caught. So my office didn't burn, but what they did, so they bust out all the windows, and they're just pouring tons and tons of water through the roof, which was burning. And we're watching from the front, and they're like waist high windows, and we're seeing water just like lapping out of those front windows. God. And my office is like in the middle. It's not one of the like street view offices. So it doesn't have those lower windows. It has higher windows. So I'm going, my office is a fishbowl right now. But again, the whole time I knew I was fine, because I had everyone's photos backed up, even your gear, as long as you're insured. Hannah, if you haven't done that yet and you're kind of putting your business together, get insurance, because that really came through for me. It was majorly luck that I had a shoot that night in the middle of winter. Like, we don't shoot a lot, you know what I mean? But at Shorts Brewery, which I used to do, like, capture everything for them, they had me shooting their ugly sweater party on Christmas Eve. And like I said, we lived in Ironton, so when we drove back from Bel Air, we kind of went through like East Jordan way, like the back way. So I didn't want to go dump my gear at my office. I just took it home with me. So I had
so lucky.
2 of my 3 camera bodies. I had like 4 lenses, which normally I didn't bring that many for a shoot like that. But yeah, I had 4 lenses with me. And that stuff would have been covered and would have been replaced by insurance. But it was just nice that I didn't have to go through all that, because I did have a New Year's Eve wedding downstate that year. So I would have had to like rent gear or borrow gear for that. So that worked out really well. But yeah, insurance came through and replaced. I had my backup system there. I had an iMac. I had a 6D body. And a couple lenses, and basically just made a list of everything that I lost, and then furniture and all that stuff. And the insurance company covered all that amount. So,
Mike, while you're talking right now, I'm gonna go ahead, and I probably should have done this earlier, but I'm just gonna kind of click through some of these photos that you had shared with me. These are some. So you just go ahead and keep talking, but these are some of the images from the fire and kind of the before and after kind of stuff.
So it took a while before they let us into the building. There was a real estate office up there. We all like got to go back up into our offices to kind of see if there was anything that we could salvage. That canvas is in my garage now still. Kind of funny. But yeah, and so it was the middle of winter and the roof was gone. So you can see they just like pulled all the roof down in the background there.
Snow?
That's why there's snow.
Oh man,
And you could see that IMAX screen is just full of
just wrecked.
water. So
It's a well composed shot of a very sad moment.
yeah, yeah. And these were partially for insurance, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Front
Do
end.
the insurance appraiser be like, I don't really like the bokeh on this one?
Yeah, exactly. Can you brighten this one up?
Yeah, exactly.
What was I going to talk about next?
You were talking about the gear that you had lost, about how the insurance had replaced things.
Oh, right.
Um,
One thing that they also offered to do was to have the Drobo. So this is now that the building's
can you
been
see my
redone.
mouse? I don't know if you can see my mouse. Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the Drobo over here. For those that don't know, we'll talk a little bit about this because Mike and I realized that we both have a similar backup system. I use a Synology system, and he uses a Drobo. They're just a little bit different. They're kind of like talking about like Mac versus PC, or Apple versus or iPhone versus Android kind of thing. They're Drobo versus Synology are kind of like two big competitor brands. But this would be the Drobo here, and that allows for this. What is this, like a 6-bay system, Mike?
5.
5. So this holds 5 hard drives, and if set up correctly, it basically reads on your system as one big chunky hard drive. And if any of the drives, if you lose one of the drives, if it just goes bad, then through some dark magic that is computer science, you can pop that drive out, put a new one back in something like 12 hours, it does the math and figures out what all those files should have been, and then you're back up and running with no data loss, which is a pretty incredible thing. They're not cheap. I think my Synology was like $900 empty, and then I had to put pretty expensive hard drives in it because they need to last a long
Probably
time.
altogether.
What's that?
Probably a couple grand altogether.
Mine isn't full. I have
Okay.
3 10-terabyte drives in it.
Nice.
And so I've probably spent $1,200, $1,300, something like that. So I also have I have a 6-bay system, and so I've got 3 more slots left. The downside and all that is, a 6-bay system still only allows it's only one of the drives is consumed as that redundant drive to kind of give you that security and backup. So at most I can only have 50 terabytes.
Yeah, now you can probably see it better, guys, now that it's not over. I think it was kind of covered with our thumbnails on my screen, but
Oh, gotcha.
that black box under the router there.
Cool.
To the right. So
Yep.
Yeah, so
doesn't,
that's the
doesn't
building.
look like much. It's just a box full of I'm gonna stop screen sharing. It's just a box full of hard drives. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really look that fancy, but it's a very nice luxury to have for sure.
Yeah, and I've in the years that I've been using it, I think 2 times probably. There's green lights on every hard drive to show their health, and if one of them turns red, it means the drive's bad. Get a new one off Amazon, pull the old one out, plug it in, and yeah, like Michael said, like within like 12 hours, it completes itself again. So
it's pretty magical. I mean, I actually do understand how it works, but it really just feels like black magic when you're working. I haven't had one fail yet. Knock on glass, but
but it's okay if they do.
But I've only had it for maybe a year. So, and a lot of the processes that we're talking about you don't have to spend $2,000 to really do this. I mean, if you do the same sort of technology, but the same concept, but have an external, like a plug-in high capacity external hard drive, and then maybe take 2 of those little portable drives and kind of do the Mike Murphy method. Cool. Where were we? You were talking about your studio.
Oh, the insurance company offered to take the well, they actually cut me a check for the quote that this company gave me to recover those hard drives.
Oh wow.
So if I had needed to, if I didn't have my at-home backup, I probably still would have been fine, because that company would have hopefully been able to go and get all of that data off of those hard drives for me. But I kind of had to sit down and make a decision. I did lose a little bit of like personal life photos because I don't back them up as well. All the weddings, every time I finish, so I'll shoot a wedding and I'll break off like a 60 to 100 photo sneak peek for them, and that goes on Dropbox right away for them to view it. And
Yeah.
so that's like an immediate way that like that then those are on the internet. They're saved forever unless you delete it, in case anything happens from then until you deliver the photos. Then when I finish the edit and upload everything to my online galleries for my clients, those images are saved on there forever. I don't have it so they expire. So
Same.
if they have their edited images, I'm happy. And if they're on the internet, if I were to lose the raws, that all that really means is you can't go back and re-edit photos for your portfolio. Not that big a deal. We should all be using our most current work anyways for our portfolios. So, so I had to kind of make a decision. Is this money the insurance is cutting me an extra check for? Is it going to, spending it on this, is that going to improve my business at all, or be profitable for my business in any way? It wasn't retrieving weddings that I had lost. So I decided, it was kind of a tough decision to just go ahead and
Let that
invest
go.
that money into, I think when I bought a new hard drive system, that's when I kind of was like, okay, I'm just going to do that. It's a little bit of a bummer because I think I have random photos saved from like our honeymoon that and I lost the rest, sort of thing. But yeah, so there's always room for improvement, and we should talk about Synology later because I know a couple friends who have switched from Drobo to Synology.
Yeah.
And I think there is an online component to that. So let's definitely do a comparison.
Yeah,
it's
we could
something
even make that another blog post. We could
Sure.
really dig in on backup systems and kind of really get into the dorky stuff on that.
Sure.
I'm gonna write that down. Synology versus Drobo. I will say, just as a for those that are interested, my understanding is that Drobo is a lot more like user friendly right off the bat. Like it's just like plug and play. You drop
Yeah.
some hard drives in, you push power, and it just works. Synology takes a bit more computer understanding, but has a lot more power behind it. So you can do a lot more things. Yeah, I could right now send you a link, and you could just look through my entire Synology archive, 30 terabytes worth of data, and you could just download anything that you want. I'm not going to let you, but I
Yeah.
could.
Are they compressed then? It must be some sort of compressed image.
Nope.
How do they upload quick enough to an online backup?
Well, so that's a whole other discussion, right? So we can talk about. Well, I think I've explained my archive system a little bit, but I'll give you a brief overview of what we do. So I have. So I walk into from a shoot. I have two. I'm sure you shoot dual cards. I have raw files on a CF card and JPEGs I have on an SD. SD kind of like stays in the camera. I've got 64 gig SD cards, and so those don't really fill up that fast with JPEGs. And so there's probably like 2 weddings on one at any given time. Those are just like a safety backup, and then I dump the CF cards directly into our Synology system. From there, because we use a system with an editor who does our culling for us, I create smart previewed culling sets, and I drop those through Dropbox to her to kind of cull and run through. When that's happening, my photos are being sent up to a cloud service, and
Through
so
Synology? Is that part of Synology?
it's not part of Synology. It's like there's a bunch of services you can use. Like you can run it through like CrashPlan or Backblaze. We're also using like the Amazon Cloud, Web Services, and so you can use that through your Amazon Prime subscription. But you could also on a kind of like a corporate level, you could do like an Amazon called like W3 backup, and that is like that's what like most of the web services that you use are like running, like, I don't know this specifically, but there's a chance that like Dropbox runs off of Amazon Web Services.
Sure.
And so that one's really expensive, and it's really expensive to recover it, but it's like it's considered like deep storage. It's not something to be accessed all the time. So if I were to send you that link from a Synology system, it's actually not like uploaded and then you're downloading it from there. It's actually like a pipe into my Synology. So like I can send you a link, and
Interesting.
it just allows you to like log into my Synology from remote and then download it directly, because mine is plugged directly into my router. And so you're just like basically like coming into my home and being like, hey, can I have that like image number 17, please? And my
Yeah.
Synology goes, yes, sir. Give me your password. Okay, you can have it. There you go.
So it's not from an online backup. It's an access into the device. Okay.
Which is, if you don't want that, it might be because it's kind of sketchy to open up your internal network to others outside. I mean, as long as you've got it encrypted, it's not a big deal.
Mhm.
But it allows for some pretty cool things. I mean, that means that anywhere I travel, I can punch into my house and have access to that like at the drop of a hat. I'm
Do you
gonna need to
edit-
go through. Go ahead.
Do you edit at home with those files or no?
Yeah, we have our studio, but we don't really use it that much. It's mostly
Yeah.
a rain out kind of like shooting space, and then we have we use it for like print sessions. So all of our work is done here.
Oh, cool.
We're really high volume, and so it has never made sense for us to be like bouncing back and forth between home
Sure.
and the studio and the shoot, home and the studio and the shoot, which has its own problems, which means I don't have a second location where I keep, you know, an additional set of hard drives. I'm not commuting to the office, bringing my backup drive with me when I come home.
Sure.
So that means that we have to rely on web services to have
Yep.
stuff in the cloud. Here I've 2 copies here, 3 at maybe 4 at any given time if I have not wiped my CF cards and not wiped my SD cards. You were asking a question. What was the question you asked? I got sidetracked.
It was about the cloud service part, so I think you answered it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the Synology systems you can plug into most cloud systems. I have my export folder for all of my finished files
Mhm.
sitting in what is essentially like it's a slight hack, but I basically set a folder on my Synology and called it Google Drive, and then I have the Google Drive app inside there pointed to that as well. And so it's just this like awkward mirror thing that it broke like 4 times, but it's now fixed. And so when I export my files, they're just automatically uploading to Google Drive without
That's
having any sort of like, you don't have to finish them, wait for the export, and then upload them separately.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's all on the Synology system. So Hannah had a specific question about camera insurance. Do you want to jump in, Hannah? Oh, of course I call on you as you're like running away. Can't hear you. There you are.
Sorry, my dog was being annoying.
It's okay.
So I have renter's insurance, which in my renter's insurance, I totaled up like how much my gear would cost. So if I have a fire at my apartment, I can get a new camera and things.
Yeah.
But how do you go about specifically getting like equipment insurance?
So it's been a while since I did this, but I basically, I wish I had talked to my insurance guy before this, but it's like a business insurance, and it protects you with like a liability side of things too. And then just a list of all your gear is on there too. But yeah,
Who are you
so
using,
I would,
Mike?
our Charlevoix agency right here, it's like a block from
Oh,
my
gotcha.
office, just easy peasy to go over there. And I think it's through New Star.
Okay.
It's a New Star policy.
The kind of like industry standard is Hill and Usher.
Okay.
And that is through the Hartford, and they are like a dedicated, specific photography insurance organization. It's not like super easy to use. I was expecting some sort of like client portal where you could like check what gear is on there and see what is it like, what's insured and what is not. And it's more of like, you just have an account with them, and if you have questions, you like fill out this form, and you're like, what equipment do I have? And a couple of years ago, I checked on it, and I was way behind on updating my equipment with them. And so I would hope out of like the kindness of their heart, they would be like, yeah, we get it. Like your equipment that you have with us is insured, and as long as you have record of it, that makes sense. But they might be able to say like, no, you
Right.
didn't put on the list, so we're not going to cover it. So I'm a bit conspiratorial when it comes to insurance as a whole. I find I use it, I have it, I
Yeah.
need it, like I believe in it, but I'm also like, when I need it, when it comes to use, I really hope they like have my back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Can I
I
say
worried
something?
about that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, please.
So I got my camera stolen once, and I was told that it would fall back on my homeowner's insurance.
Interesting.
And my homeowner's insurance told me that if I use my cameras for business whatsoever, even if it was
Yep.
only 1% of the time, they only covered like $1,000, and some don't cover anything at all. So you have to have it. It may not fall underneath your renter's insurance, Hannah. So
Thank
I
you.
think
know that you have to get separate insurance for
I
your
think
camera stuff.
I
if you're
think it
using it for
depends
business.
on how your business is established. If you're like not an LLC, if you are
Nope.
not a corporation, are you sure?
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they told me if you use it for business whatsoever, any kind of business,
Yeah.
that it wasn't covered fully.
That's not fun. The other thing to know is that if your camera is stolen and there's no evidence, it's called a mysterious disappearance claim, and some insurances will not cover that. You have to, like, when you're looking at insurance, you need to be really specific about what they cover. And then there's also replacement versus value. And so some insurance companies will only give you back what the value of the equipment is now. And so if your camera is 5 years old, you know, you're not going out the next day to Best Buy and picking up the newest camera. You're buying a used version of what you had back then. So what we have is it covers mysterious disappearances. So like if I don't lock my car and my camera's pulled off the driver's seat, or if I'm like I was in LA once, like standing on top of a bluff overlooking a sunset with a couple, and I watched somebody like eyeball my camera as I like put it down for half a second. If I had not been paying attention and he grabbed it under the wrong insurance, that's not covered. So yeah, you have to like really pay attention and know what you're getting yourself into. Because if you don't want to pay a monthly subscription or a yearly fee to an insurance company, and then when the time comes to pay for them to pay out, they're like, sorry, you didn't buy the right thing. It would have been 30 cents more a year to buy the right thing, but we didn't tell you about that. And that's why I have a complex about insurance. Does that cover that, Hannah? Cool. I will make sure. Mike, what is the name of the place in Charlevoix?
It's just our local agency. It's called Charlevoix Agency. So
Okay, cool. So
yeah.
we'll just say like local insurance, and then Hill and Usher. I'll make sure this gets into the show notes so you can
Nice.
review that there. Awesome. So right now, has your system evolved? Oh, go ahead. You have something else?
I just want to touch really quick on when the fire happened. Luckily, the battling of insurance stuff was between like the building owner and DTE Gas or whatever the gas company was. I think it was DTE, but to basically figure out what the cause of the fire was and all that. And luckily, none of that had anything to do with me, and my insurance just like paid it out, once all that was kind of settled. But yeah, so luckily it wasn't like, I wonder how much different it would have been if it were like, say I had like a Corey Weber studio in my backyard, and a fire happened there, what that would have been like. But so luckily I kind of dodged a bullet with all that.
For sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, because I know I got into a little fender bender in different trip to LA, and I did have like multiple insurance like competing to be like, no, we're not going to pay that. The other person should. And man, that is a nightmare. Like and you never feel more ignorant or just stupid when you have like professional people who sound like they know what they're doing, being like, nope, sorry, that's not our responsibility.
Right.
And then you hear that it actually was, they're just trying to get out of it. And you're like,
Right. Yeah.
that's not okay.
Yeah.
Not
for
okay.
sure.
It's very
So
frustrating.
yeah, you were getting into whether or not my system has changed at all, and
Yeah.
it really hasn't. It only kind of changes when circumstances change. Like right now, I'm just working from home, even though my office. This is kind of funny, but my office, when this all started, it's only like maybe 6 blocks away. I can walk down there, and it is like my own little secure office, but it does share vents with the next office right next to it. And I heard the guy coughing, and it was like day 3 of like this all going down. And I was just like, and plus my wife felt a lot better with me being home anyways. I was like,
sure.
I'm just going to set up a little home office. I'm in it right now. So when you have kids, and you wanted to touch on this too, Michael,
Yeah, for sure.
when you have kids, you have to utilize, like, how are you going to basically escape so you're at work, because you can't sit at the kitchen table and work when there's, your sweet little kids are running around wanting your attention. So we have this loft in our house that we had kind of just used for storage. It's like a 3rd story kind of attic level. So like
Cool.
that's the downstairs. There's a ladder that comes up to it, and that kind of looks out on our driveway. There's this little kind of lounge area. And so I just carried this little desk, which I had for anyone who was like calling photos for me at my office. I had like a secondary desk, and luckily it's really light, and I was able to just like hoist it up here.
Very cool.
But yeah, I think pretty soon maybe I'll start going back down to my office to just like, the reason that it helps me to have an office at all is, especially with kids, is so that I go to work and then I come home, and then I can be at home when I'm at home, and I can hopefully get things done more efficiently when I'm at the office. You do have to be careful, because you can fall into social media traps and just sit there scrolling on your phone even though you're at your office. So it's like, but it can help you be productive, and for me anyways, for my particular situation. So the other benefit of having an office is just kind of like a sign downtown Charlevoix, right on Main Street. I got like after the fire, I actually invested in like a nice sign. So
Yeah.
So that's helpful too. So yeah, but I love it as kind of a way to escape, go work, come home, be present with the family.
Yeah,
So
the space I'm in right now is like, there's a guest bed right there. That was like my little yoga room for a long time, but now there's like a giant desk in there. I built at the beginning of the quarantine like a space down here that's
nice.
just like a quiet little isolated room, and then this is specifically so I can have the lights up here. I was doing the calls in the first few weeks, just like in the living room. We've got this big, beautiful bay windows, and it's like just nice lighting. But it's been great to have, a kind of a dedicated little space where we can come in,
Yeah.
and like this is always set up. I don't have to like move things around. So though I don't feel like I need an office for that, like I have one, but I don't use it in the same capacity. I'm still like a big believer in the power of like a space. Like there is some like energy of like my office feels different from here. My home feels different from, like, we can't do this now, but like working out of coffee shops. And so I think having a dedicated space is something that can be really valuable, especially if you work from home, especially if you're kind of just getting your business up and running, setting time aside for yourself, whether it's daily or weekly, to just be like, I'm in work mode. I'm going to like work on my branding, work on my website, work on some editing. It's really important from my perspective to have that, because I'm a very, I have, I wouldn't say aggressive, but I have a decent case of attention deficit disorder. And so I like my focus is like a wispy little thing that I have to hold on to. And when I lose it, it's gone. And to have like a dedicated space that really forces one to be focused is pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm. I feel like
so
it's such a gift for you, Michael. So I've known you for so many years, that you're such, you're an ideas man. Like, you have all these crazy ideas, and you want to talk to people, and you want to help people, and you want to share your systems. And so yeah, it's definitely maybe can be hard to deal with or live with for you, but at the same time, like, makes you the the outgoing dude that you are. So
I appreciate that. We'll talk about this at some point. I know we're going to do we're working on whether it's a roundtable discussion or one of these interviews. We're going to do like a mental health day where we're just going to talk about like how creatives kind of view themselves, how creatives view mental health, because as a weird side effect of our creative world where some people glorify mental health disorders, and I know I've had a problem with that in my life where, you know, you go through a phase where you feel like you need to be an alcoholic to be a writer, or
Right.
you need to be like a scatterbrained creative to get anything done in art school.
Mhm.
But I haven't talked about this yet, but I maybe like 5 weeks ago, I started taking attention deficit disorder, or ADHD medication,
Mhm.
and it's been a game changer for me
Nice.
already, and it
Awesome.
hasn't taken long to really change my outlook on things. And you don't realize how bad it is until it's kind of slightly fixed. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Well, Mike, I don't want to hold you up too much longer. I know I did want to talk a little bit about you have a similar um, take on photography that we have that I really respect, which is you have like you have some damn hustle in you, and I really appreciate that, and I do love that you haven't really necessarily like locked yourself into like I'm just a wedding photographer, I'm too cool to do like family portraits and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily have a question. That's just a little bit of praise. I dig your work. I dig um, the ethos that you've built around your brand for a long time.
Thanks, man.
I've
Yeah,
always had a lot of respect for the way you work. But I mean, again, I don't have a question there. But if there's anything you want to talk about with like families or anything like that, you're welcome to. Or we can
well,
bail soon. If you want to get back
it's
to that.
funny that you brought that up though, because sure, like this is a creative thing, and sure we're artists, but we're also just doing a job. Like,
Yeah.
so like if you can go and make $500 in an evening, you know, shooting with a family, like in an hour or something, like hell yeah, like
Yeah.
my kids need that $500. Like, yes, I'm gonna go, even if the couple, you know, even if the family wants like a large group shot on their porch, and it's like maybe not something that I'm very excited about. Guess what? This is a job. It's a career. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're not gonna love every shoot. Like that's just how it goes.
Yeah. Even if
So
you're a
and
famous, fancy wedding photographer, you're not going to
right.
necessarily love every single thing you do.
And the way I turned those kind of shoots into something that I do enjoy doing is by not just taking pictures when everyone's posed and ready to go, you know, to
For
getting
sure.
those in between moments. Like I was shooting a session, it was like a multi-family session, and there was like 10 kids that were all cousins. And I look over and they're in a circle and they're playing this like clapping game and like singing something. And I ran over there and got some like the best candids. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
don't write off family photos, like, you know. So yeah,
Well,
it's
there's just such beautiful moments, and we got done. We had a wedding client meeting interview, whatever, last night,
fun.
and we were talking about that. Like, they asked like what's our favorite part about weddings, and my answer was something to the effect of this. There's a moment like at the end of the wedding, sun is setting, the kind of the time is running out. You're almost ready to leave as the photographer, and there's just like, I don't know, maybe this was like just really important to me last year as we were like, you know, thinking, or as you know, Milo was on his way, and just this idea that we're just the kind of the stewards, like the keepers of these family memories for people. And I just remember looking at, it was a private residence, beautiful home right on the lake in Frankfurt, and watching these like grandma interact with her granddaughter. Like they don't get to see each other than like maybe once a year, or like once every other year or something like that. And just like this idea that like this family comes together to like really be there with their loved ones, and like, hell yeah, like I'm
Yeah.
just so all about that. And I love that on my worst day, on my worst damn day, I am there at a wedding of somebody that like really like loves their family, and they're like, it's like one of the best days of their life. And maybe I'm a little grumpy, or maybe it's a family portrait, and like I'm having a bad grumpy day and I don't really want to drive out to the lake shore
Right.
today. But you know, you get in the car and you put a podcast on, or you put on some good music, and all of a sudden, like, you just realize that like these people, especially, you know, living up north, you've got people from Detroit or people from like Chicago, New York, who like, this is their vacation and they're so excited to see their family. And like, you're just going to bring that environment, that energy, like up another notch. And you're just like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like this job is great. Yeah, you're right. Like
Right.
we're not rock stars. This is not like, you know, I'm not too good for anything, but
Yeah.
like, man, I'm here for it. Like, I just love
Yeah.
it. It's just a wildly like positive experience. And yeah, families, seniors, babies, man, I've been digging on shooting newborns recently. Like
Yeah.
seeing a new family that's like way into like, they're scared. They don't know what they're doing. And
Right.
they're like super in love. And it's only been like 2 weeks. Like, hell yeah, always.
For sure. I don't know if you ever get this. I wish that on wedding mornings that I was just like, oh, gee, wedding today. This is going to be great. But a lot of the time it's almost like a little bit of wedding morning blues that I get, like with this impending, like maybe a little bit of nervousness, which has gone away. The more I've gone toward candid, the less I'm nervous before a wedding, because I know that if I don't have to have a ton of awesome locations picked out and this and that, I just have to be present and do my thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it's just another wedding over at Castle Farms or something, like whatever it is, you know? But especially living up north, beautiful summer day, you're driving to the wedding, you see everyone carrying their kayaks down to the lake. You're like, just have a little bit of like, oh man, I shouldn't have to go shoot a wedding today. And then you like snap out of it, Mike. Like, this is somebody's wedding day. This is going to be the best day of their life. They will never get to be in a room with all these people again. Like, this is it. You know what I mean? And so
You better damn well like keep your camera up and like get that picture, because you're the one to document that thing. And if you don't do it, like, because nobody's going to do it because they're going to expect you to. I definitely get a similar thing. I'll admit it's just 100% because of obligations. I love almost nothing else than canceling things. When someone says, you know what, do you want to do that tomorrow instead? I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a backpacking excursion that I've been waiting for 6 months on. But the fact that I have to do it means now I want to go kayaking. Means now I want to play that new video game that came out. Means now I just want to like hang around and eat dumplings all day. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, but canceling an event is the biggest luxury in my life. So you're right. The second I show up on set and like I see the couple and I'm like, oh my God, I remember you from the engagement shoot. Y'all are so cute. And now I'm here for it and I want to hang out with you. And then like you blink and the wedding's done.
Yeah, and then you feel amazing. For me, I have this moment at weddings that I really love. It's after most weddings now, I feel like we're shooting bride and groom beforehand and wedding party beforehand so that they can be present with their guests for the rest of the day. So get all that done. The ceremony is pretty easy peasy because it's documentary style. Family photos can be a bitch. And then, you know, maybe you have more photos, portraits after that. But then walking into the cocktail hour, I just have this huge relief where I'm like, I get to just capture what's going on for the rest of the day.
Yeah, you're done. Brooke and I talk about that. We're like, oh, we're off duty now. Like, all I have to do is take pictures now. Like, up until that point, I'm running the show. I am in charge. Like, unless there's a wedding planner, I'm kind of the wedding planner. And being the extrovert in our team, like, I'm the one that's like, yo, you can't be there. You're supposed to be over there 5 minutes ago, and you're supposed to bring those pants with you. Why aren't you wearing pants? Get your pants on and get over to this wedding thing. Yeah. To the inverse of you, I get like immense joy out of like, I found that secret location. I found where the best light was. I found like because the portraits are our absolute favorite part. And so for us, I get like giddy at that part, but like the ceremony is like when you're on, like that's like make sure you get to the ceremony, make sure you get to the venue in time, make sure you get to the ceremony in time, make sure the couple is like aware where you are, aware what's going on. Like, did you get the kiss? Did you get the thing with the rings? Did you get like, once all that's done, like, whew, now I'm just a photographer. This is easy.
Yeah. Michael, if either of us ever get like a client that's having like a huge wedding and they want to have like 4 photographers to capture everything, and has a huge budget, I'm gonna call you so that you can do all the portraits and I can do all the candids, and like that couple will get the best wedding photography
Ooh.
that they you can imagine. Because I feel
All
like
right, that's got to be a thing, right? That's not a thing, but like, who's got what couple's got a 20K budget?
yeah.
We got just for photography, of course.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
for photography. Yeah, I mean, you and I shot together years ago, like what,
So,
second
like,
year into the
2012
industry?
maybe.
Woo!
Long time.
But I know, well, we'll have to find an excuse to get together and shoot. I mean,
Yeah.
hell, at the very least, we got to have you out to one of our photo walks once we're, legally and
Sure.
morally allowed to be shooting within 30 feet of other people.
Yeah.
And we will come back to those. They're definitely like in the works, but
Mm-hmm.
not until we know what the hell's going on.
Sure.
So guys, does anybody have any questions? I mean, again, I kind of want to let Mike get back onto his family, but I'm gonna pop this back into Grit Gallery View in case anybody's got any burning questions. You don't have to, and if we're about to peace out, that's fine. But
I'm good. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. If anyone has any questions, for sure.
I don't have a question, but I do have a suggestion since we're talking about backing up and stuff like
Please.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I back up to portable drives at the time being, but I have found that I believe it's Seagate. I had two of those actually go on me
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
at the same time, and
Thanks.
but anyways, another thing too is a lot of times what I'll do is I will take two camera bodies. Sorry, my dogs are barking. I'll take two camera bodies and I'll try to shoot with both, because even though like my Sony has the dual slots right now, my Nikons did not, and when I was only using those, I did have a card go on me too.
yeah.
So I like to have two bodies and shoot with two different bodies, or take my card out and shoot with a different card. That way I don't lose everything.
I
So-
specifically have 64 gig SD cards as my JPEG backups, and then I use between 16 and 32 gig CF cards. I don't buy any higher capacity because I want to force myself to be swapping cards intermittently throughout the day. Stay there. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I carry this
Mm-hmm.
on a wedding day with a tether. And it has spots for all my SD cards here, CF cards here. It has my very old business card in there, but that has my cell phone and my address on it, just in case this gets. And I have, not this one specifically, but I have had somebody go, "Hey, is this yours?" And they brought like a hard case full of memory cards.
Yeah.
Now I have ones that have tethers, and these go here. And this does not leave my side.
Nice.
The second the wedding is done, every memory card, the SD cards stay in my car, and all of the CFs get put right in here. They stay on me. They do not leave. Like when we come home, the first thing that gets done is Brooke does whatever the hell she wants, and I come downstairs and I import those cards immediately, and they do not leave. They do not, like, they are physically tied to me until I am sure that they are in two other places to have a total of 4 copies of these photos before we even start culling.
So I didn't really touch on my system of shooting, but really similar way. So I shoot 2 camera bodies, Mark IIIs currently, but I also have an EOS R, which is the which I really enjoy. They're about to come out with an EOS R that has 2 card slots. So when that happens, I think I'm gonna finally sell off my Mark IIIs or save them for associates or something, and go ahead and go full mirrorless with the new version of the EOS R. I used to use so we shoot all day. I have a 128 gig SD in, saving everything, as well as 32 gig SD or CF cards. Or no, I'm sorry, they're all. Wait, is it?
You're CF and SD and the
CF and SD. Haven't shot in a while. Since March 14th.
What's a camera?
Yeah.
What's a camera?
So I take those at the end of the wedding day, or once things calm down during the reception, I'll start plugging those cards in to upload them to my NAR box. Before the NAR box, I had a Nexto, which I got to get used to the NAR box. The next
Mike,
one was
nobody,
the-
most
oh,
people are probably not going to know what either of those are.
right. Sorry. So it's a backup. It's a card reader hard drive. So basically, while you're shooting a wedding, you fill up a card. You can stick it right in this hard drive, and it's gonna automatically save
Mhm.
that. Then you put it back in your card wallet, which is attached to your belt, and you've already got basically 3 copies of every photo. That works really well for me because I can have, if someone's shooting with me, they can be uploading the cards toward the end of the wedding, and then on the drive home, the last of the cards are uploading. And then, you know, sometimes I'll stop at my office and upload them real quick. Or actually, really, normally I go home, put them on another hard drive, and break off some previews from that. So, and then when I get to my office, add to the Drobo. So this is like how many copies?
Yeah.
So before I delete my cards, I make sure that I have, I always copy to my Drobo from my portable drive. So I know that if it's on the Drobo, it's also on the other drive. So I use the Drobo to check every card and make sure that all those photos are actually saved and that nothing happened in the upload. So
Yeah, that's a really interesting point because what you have to be assessing when you're backing up. First of all, this does feel like ridiculously redundant, ridiculously over the top. But if
Yeah.
you were paid any decent amount of money to cover somebody's wedding, and that wedding you miss, like I was gonna talk about this early on, but I forgot. I have a story where like I deleted a card prematurely, and I deleted a couple's like we saved everything except for their family pictures, and that was the only thing they cared about. They didn't even care about the ceremony pictures. They just wanted like huge family. Like they just wanted that one big picture with the entire family, and I deleted it. And cut to 4 a.m. me in the fetal position on my kitchen floor. That's not a joke. That was like me freaking out. I am a genius, and I undeleted them because I'm good at computers. But you don't want that to happen. So like, not only are you worried about your hard drives failing, not only are you worried about your cards failing, but you're worried about like, did I take these and put them on this, or did I take these and when I was doing it, did I forget that I put a memory card back here, and then you know next week you're like, oh cool, I can delete this. That's what happened, is that I put a card in the wrong slot in the one that I don't use anymore because it has the wrong slot. So all of those things do matter. Like it sounds insane. Like you from the outside, you may think, or a client may think, wow, you're really overthinking this. We're overthinking this so that when it comes to the question at 2 a.m., 3 days after the wedding, did I back up everything? The answer is yes. You trust that you know without question. The way that you trust that if you like step out of your bed, you will hit the ground because you trust gravity. Like your backup and archive system just works because you trust yourself. Because you just have to breathe this stuff. It has to be important. And
that translates into being able to have quality time with your family because you have a system of backup that you don't have to, that's timely and efficient, and you can go home to your family and enjoy, time with them instead of.
But it also, from a business perspective, translates to you can charge your clients more because you can say you can trust me, and if you say that and they can't trust you, your business is not going to do well. But if you build a rapport with your clients, with your community, and say like, not only will you like the work that I make, but like at the end of the day, you can trust that you will get your photos back. We've all heard those stories of like, I paid a guy and then I just never heard back from him until he told me he deleted him by mistake. You just don't want to be that person. Like it's going to happen. You're going to lose something. You're going to mess up. But if I've done those things in the past, but then you go back to your online backup or your second hard drive or dig through your burned down studio and you find your plan C, and you need the joke in the industry is if it doesn't exist in 3 places, it doesn't exist. Right? All right. Anything else, guys? You want to jump into anything else?
Good stuff. That was great.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Melinda, are you still doing dumplings?
Yeah.
All right, I'll message you. I want some dumplings.
Okay. I mean, that's not what I'm doing right now, but yeah.
Cool.
Hey,
quick
Mike,
plug.
if you ever want to sell the 5D Mark III, let me know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, will do. I'll holler.
I love my Mark IIIs. I'm not really.
Oh, you still shoot them too?
Yeah,
Good.
I do not see any need to go to 4s.
Yeah.
I rented the OG EOS R, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Not enough to like ditch what I had for it, but I have
Yeah.
a mirrorless. My Fuji personal camera is a mirrorless camera, so I'm already like super in love with the mirrorless concept. But the Mark IIIs are
Unfortunately,
really-
I love the 5D Mark IV.
oh really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
What about it?
it's just the focusing points. It's
yeah.
really, really good. And with my 70 to 200 lens, it's like spot on.
Yeah,
Nice.
for sure.
One
Yeah,
thing that I feel like my EOS R does better is like I always have this when the couple is walking down the aisle after they've gotten married, and I'm snapping away, and my Mark IIIs will start to slow down because I'm saving to 2 cards, and I save RAWs to both cards, so it'd probably be better if I did JPEG. I bet, because it's all about write speed. But
that's exactly right.
yeah, so yeah, I feel my mirrorless does a better job at that.
I don't shoot enough weddings to
Sure.
really have a problem with it.
Awesome.
Mine's more
yeah,
the
if I sell
seniors.
those, I'll get a hold of Michael and get your contact info and let you know.
Thanks.
All
Absolutely.
right, guys. Let's let Mike get back to his family. Everybody get back to everything, and Melinda back to her dumplings, so that I can buy
Alright.
dumplings from her. You should buy dumplings from her because they are ridiculously good.
Nice.
All right.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Mike.
Thank
Talk
you.
soon.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.